Welcome, everyone, to the first, we're calling it episode 0 of Baseline Banter. My name is Colton Wilson. I am with BoundWisconsin.com. I am a JV boys basketball varsity assistant with Richland Center. Been in the space for 12 years coaching. Been around the space with regards to youth basketball, running events at the high school level, everything in between, covering from the media side for going on 10 plus years. Two other guys here with me. First up, here's Chris Smith.
Yeah, how you doing? My name's Chris Smith. I'm currently the head basketball coach at high school, rolling into my 5th year already there. And I've been coaching high school basketball at various places over the last 20 years. I've had every position I think you could possibly have inside of a high school basketball program as far as assistant coaches go. I've been an assistant JV coach and freshman coach and head freshman coach, head JV coach, to varsity assistant and to now the head coach. So I feel really comfortable kind of just being in any of those spots and talking about them. And then I also have coached golf for the last probably 7 years now or so as well. So now on the girls' side of that stuff too. But I'm really excited to talk about some basketball this night.
All right, everybody. Travis Wilson here from Bound, Wisconsin. 18 years covering high school sports in Wisconsin, for many years at WSN, of course. Have been a coach for almost 30 years in youth basketball, high school basketball, 3 years as head men's basketball coach at UW Richland. Most of my coaching experience the last 10 years or so has been coaching in the youth programs with my kids here in Reedsburg. Also, as many of you know, cover high school football in Wisconsin, but very involved in the WBCA, the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association, as well for 18 years and 10 plus years, maybe 15 years on the board, communications director, site director, handle the all-state and all-star game nomination processes, membership, all kinds of good stuff for the WBCA. A great honor to be able to do that. So excited to get this going and get into hoop season after a busy football campaign.
Yeah, and before we really get into it, we kind of wanted to go over what our vision with this episode is. I think Chris and I talked back at the coaches clinic a month or so ago that over a couple beers, hey, we need to talk hoops. I want to talk hoops. I love talking hoops. Probably a little over a month ago then, I said, I'm tired of dragging my feet. Let's do this. Let's get this thing rolling. And kind of our vision for this is basketball's fun. We're all junkies of it. We've all been around it for forever. The state is ever growing in talent, not just in the players, but the coaching, everything up and down. Like, basketball is fun. Basketball in Wisconsin is really fun. So we're going to use this platform to highlight that. We're going to do weekly, highlights of the teams, the players, both on the girls and boys side. This isn't just a boys basketball podcast. We'll have coaches from both sides as guests. Everybody down the line that is involved in this process. We could get officials. We can get ADs. We can get folks from the WBCA, admins, people that are involved in any way, shape, or form in hoops, in high school sports in general. I think it just needs to be celebrated more. We have a unique situation where I think, I get to coach. I'm not at the varsity head coach, but I've been around it enough. I do a lot with our program. I'm in a small community. I coach in Richland Center. I live in Viola, which is D5 Kickapoo. Go Panthers. They're going to be really good this year. Go Hornets. Love them as always. Travis has been around the space for forever. Coach JUCO. Chris, you are in, Hartford, D1, opposite side of the state. I think we have differing perspectives that we're going to be able to play off each other. So, yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think that between the three of us, we have an array of experience and talents when it comes to the game of basketball and what we offer and bring to the table. And we currently all have different positions that we are working in, right? So I think that the spinoff for this show can be something where every week there might be some similarities that go from week to week, but I think the topics that we can cover are very abundant, and I'm really excited to cover some of those.
Yeah, like I said, we're going to give a voice to everyone in our state that feels unheard, that just wants to talk hoops. We are that safe space. We are a place to one week we're going to draw up an inbound play. We're going to draw up the blob that gets you the game-winning bucket. And then the next week, we might talk about official shortages. Trav's gonna talk about shot clock and how much he loves it. Like we're gonna go through everything here. We're gonna have fun with it. We're not gonna talk to you. We're gonna talk with you. So looking forward to this thing having the legs to go for a while. Trav, you smirked a little bit. Shot clock? No.
We'll get into it another time.
All right, let's
I
get
get
right
in trouble when I talk about those kinds of things sometimes. So
Chris told me when I told him that you were coming on in the third chair, he's like, "That's great. Differing perspectives. We're going to be able to bounce ping pong off one another."
I think that's a great thing where we can, we definitely have a different opinion when it comes to the shot clock, and for many different reasons, right? But I think it's important to get those perspective opinions out there and like create more conversation about it, because I don't think that there are enough people maybe having those conversations about said topics, and getting those topics being more talked about and people better informed about those topics, I think can only help the game in Wisconsin. And like you said, Colton, the game of basketball in Wisconsin right now at the high school level, I don't think has been better, right? Like it continues to get better every year. You look at the amount of kids that we have that go on to play at the highest of high levels, right? From Division 1 and even into the league, right? Wisconsin's in a great place with basketball. And I think, you know, us using this platform to talk about some of the specifics of it is only going to help it get better in the long run too.
This seems ass backwards to what we just talked about for the vision, but one of our hosts, one of us three, did have the pretty unique ability to this past week. Him and his Reedsburg Beavers with Coach Zen's nephews, Brett and Brock, they got to play for a state championship. D3, 10 a.m. Friday. The game didn't go the way we wanted to. I mean, it made me cheer for the Reedsburg Beavers, something that is very hard as a Richland Center alum. But Trav, I'd love to hear the emotion, the perspective, everything. Not just from last week, but the season. Give us a little snippet of everything going into that. How was Friday? How you doing? How are the nephews?
yeah, it was a pretty cool experience for someone that we never sniffed a state tournament in any sport when I was in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball at Richland Center. We had some nice teams, but I mean, we didn't. I think we won a conference title in baseball my junior year, maybe, and that was about the extent of our success level. Richland Center has not made it out of regionals in basketball in, what is it, Colton, 30 or 40 years now. So there's not,
78.
yeah. So almost 50 years. Our sisters had good success at Richland Center in the girls basketball program, but we didn't have those experiences, and it was pretty surreal in a lot of ways, right? I hope it's something that a lot of people get to experience, whatever sport it might be: basketball, football, golf, baseball, swimming, track and field, individual sport, team sport. It was really unique. It was really special to be able to do it with two sons on the team. I have a senior that was a starter the last couple of years and a freshman that suited up for the varsity playoff run along with a number of other freshmen on the team. So yeah, I mean, it was the last 5 weeks of the playoffs really flew by, and we thought we had a good chance to make a run. It didn't have the regular season we had liked, but the kids really put it together at the right time late in the season. And really special, as I mentioned, I've coached youth basketball for years and years. I've coached my kids in youth basketball. I've coached you, Colton, in youth basketball. I've coached kids that were not mine in youth basketball. But the senior group at Richland Center, I have coached those kids in football since they were in third grade flag football. And all the way through, I was their head coach for football through eighth grade. I coached them in youth basketball. I coached them in youth baseball, and then get to coach them in high school as well the last 3 years. It was just something even more special, right? And again, to have a couple sons on the team. Thought we had a really good plan in place. Our kids executed really well. Grafton's a really, really good football team. Huge credit to Coach Norris and that whole program, the Blackhawks program. A great game that came right down to the end. We were 6 seconds away from being state champions, but unfortunately came up a little bit short. But it's really a pretty wild experience to go through. And as people I'm sure know that have been there, and coaches that have been there, that week there's so many other things going on of planning buses and planning meals and planning the send off parties and all the other stuff. And I thought our kids did a great job of taking all that in, but also focusing on the task at hand at practice. Thought we had a really good week of practice. The kids were excited, they were energetic, but they were also focused on what we were trying to get accomplished. I had a lot of emotions going into the playoffs, having a son where you never know which game is going to be your last one with him, and having again coached him since third grade. There was a little bit different feeling, I think, in the state final. We knew it was going to be the last one. The previous weeks, you don't know. You didn't know if it was going to be the last one in week one or level one or level two, whatever. But there was a finality about it that, I think there was a little bit of peace with how things went. Really wish it would have gone differently. But I think at least I had not an acceptance, but a good place with how things turned out, knowing that our kids really gave their all, that they put themselves in a position to have that opportunity and to be in the fight right down to the end. Really represented our town and our school and our community really well, and it was just a real fun experience that I sure hope we get to do again.
Pretty sweet experience for everyone. The whole family was there. Everybody got to everybody was wearing Reedsburg shirts.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested. I want to. I've talked to a lot of obviously coaches that have coached at the state tournament, won state titles, multiple state titles. Colton, you and I have been there covering them from a media perspective, but it is very different as a coach. I want to, after having gone through this as a football coach, I want to hear from some basketball coaches that we get on that have been there, what their experience is like, because I think each sport is a little different. How you get there, the process for the playoffs. I mean, basketball is it's 2 weeks and you're at state. In football, it's 4 long weeks. It's a month before you get there. The experience at the game, I think, is a little bit different with how just the schedule lays out, and football is kind of crammed in there. You're trying to get as many games in as you can. So I'm interested to hear from some coaches to be able to compare and contrast what that state tournament experience is like in basketball compared to what we had in football, and just again kind of get some different perspectives on that. And again, that's one of the things that we want to do on this Baseline Banter podcast.
Yeah, Travis, you bring up a really good point about the experience overall, right? Of something that isn't happen every day to everybody, right? That it's an experience in itself. Very small percentage of people get to go through, right? And you got to be a football coach in state championship game, but you also got to be a dad at the same time on the sidelines. How do you think? What was your favorite moment, would you say, of that overall experience with being on the sidelines coaching, your son's last high school football game?
I tried to keep the focus on what we wanted to accomplish. I mean, I told him I loved him before the game. I told him to go be great, as I do every week. Gave him hugs afterwards. He was obviously emotional, but again, I think our kids recognize the fight they put in. Probably my favorite experience from the whole process, though, was after the Whitefish Bay game in the state semifinal when we won and we got to go to state. I mean, that is such a elating moment. And again, different experiences, right? Football, there's only 2 teams in each division that get to go to the state championship, that play in quote unquote the state tournament. Whereas in basketball, there's 4. And so the state semifinals in football have a different feel than they do in basketball. It's more akin to like a sectional final in basketball, where that elation is a lot of times, getting to the state tournament. And again, because there's fewer teams that experience that in in football, that sectional final, that whatever the game is before state, I think in a lot of ways carries the most pressure. It carries the most, intensity in a way, in that if you lose one game away from state, that's really, really tough. And that would have been really tough to have that be the case. I think my emotions would have been much higher if we would have lost at that level, but winning at that level and going out and hugging him and as he's celebrating, that was, I think, my favorite moment of the whole experience, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, well, Trav and Reedsburg and 13 other teams were getting ready for state championships. Chris and I were hard at work. First week of practice. Chris, I think you had 2-a-days, right? You were there in the morning?
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday. So we went, first 2 days we had about 4.5 hours of practice. We went in the morning for a little over an hour and a half and then went 3 hours in the afternoon. So it was really nice. I mean, by the time Friday hit and we were getting ready for our scrimmage on Saturday, we had 7 practices in, and it's really nice to have those 7 practices in, because there is a lot of things that you need to get ready for a real gameplay, right? And like your scrimmage is the next step towards an actual game, and you have to have everything ready for games, So it was a very stressful week, but it's honestly it's the best because you have all that adrenaline flowing, and you're just the excitement of the new season and the potential that what could be type thing. It is fun. It's a lot of work, and I'm dead tired after the week is over, and I'm glad that we only have a couple days of school this next week here, so that I can kind of rejuvenate a little bit while starting to prep and get ready for our first game on the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
I'm
You were
curious what you guys have seen, and from talking to people, does everybody do 2-a-days? Is there anybody that does not do that?
I think
we
There's
did.
maybe some football teams playing.
Yeah, I think it's very split, honestly. There's a lot of coaches who don't, but there are a lot of coaches who go a week in the morning and in the afternoon. And I think that, so this year was the first year that I actually did Monday, Tuesday. I did have just Monday the last 4 years, but I really thought that we needed an extra hour and a half per se, right? Like when I tried to map everything out, I just felt like having two morning practices, and we have 3-hour practices in the afternoon, and then we go to 2 hours from there. And it's I think it's just kind of dependent upon too, like who your group is going to be. I think it could change for us too. I think we could also have more morning practices moving forward in the coming years, or less, because of maybe who your returners are or what you guys kind of look like. And I think that does vary. But I've talked to a lot of coaches who don't do morning practices, don't do 2 days, and then other coaches like, yeah, man, we go every morning and every afternoon for the entire first week. And I'm dead tired after 2 of those days. So I can't even imagine like having 3 more on top of that. That's it's a lot. So I just think it's a matter of what you feel is right to do.
Here in Reedsburg, our boys program anyway is doing morning practices all last week. They did not practice on Friday with the football game and everybody being gone, but then they already had scheduled 2-a-days tomorrow and Tuesday as well, and then a morning practice on Wednesday with no afternoon practice. So they even went 2-a-days carried into the following week.
Yeah, I made the joke to Chris. We were talking on Monday, and he was asking when my practice was, and our first practice wasn't until 6 o'clock on Monday night. Chris is like, "I've already been in the gym for 5 hours by the time that you stroll in there for the first time."
I couldn't. I told you too. I was like, there's no way that I could make it through that entire day without just being a basket case. If it didn't get to start until 6 p.m. on the first day, I would have been going nuts.
Efficiency at work just was on Monday. As much as I needed to get done, it was just that much. Just, oh man, I get to go home, so to speak, at 6. Because I mean, I'm sure you guys are like this too. I step in the gym for practice or a game or anything, and reality goes out of my brain. All the stresses of work, of home life, of everything, I can leave those at the door. It's always, at least for the last 10 years, of coaching, it's been a sanctuary, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I truly do like leave everything at the door when we go into the gym, because you have to be there for the kids, right? And you have to make sure that you're locked in. And I mean, I'm awful. I won't even look at my phone during practice unless I'm going on my drive to look up something that I didn't print off, or something like that, right? Like my wife gets a little irritated with me at times when she needs something from me during that 2-3 hour window. But I tell her, I'm like, yeah, it's like a black hole that I've entered into, and I don't come out of it until it's done with. So I mean, it's something that I guess has been programmed in me from for a very long time, from when I was a player in high school. It's just kind of how all the coaches I've ever had, and then all the guys that I've worked under until I became a head coach. I mean, I wouldn't be the type of head coach I am if it wasn't for all the people that I worked underneath and got to learn from. So, there's a lot. We could have a whole episode talking about the people that we worked for and why we ended up being who we are as coaches.
So while we were in practice, Trav was at state, girls basketball was getting going. And before we really dive into those, Trav, couple news items that we can touch on here quick. First being the Resch Center extension.
Yeah, the WIA and the Resch Center announced an extension of the agreement that keeps the girls basketball state tournament at the Resch Center in Green Bay through the 1930 season. And it was in 2013 that the girls basketball state tournament moved to the Resch Center initially. And there was a lot of trepidation when that first came about of what's that going to be like? Is it going to be a lesser experience? Is it, how is it going to work? And I think you talk to the majority of girls basketball coaches, and they will tell you that it has been a good move for girls basketball. And as a reminder, the WI did not want to move the girls basketball state tournament, but because of some changes to the UW, their Big Ten schedule for hockey, etc., UW could not make the Kohl Center available every year. And so the WI was looking for a permanent home, and the Resch Center stepped up, and it's been a great environment. Also hosts the now boys and girls volleyball state tournaments in Green Bay at the Resch Center for a number of years. And it's a great host. I've said it before, but the Resch Center in the city of Green Bay really roll out the red carpet for girls basketball. There's a lot more buzz. There's a lot more signage. There's a lot more investment from the community, it feels like, in Green Bay than even what you see in Madison for the boys state tournament, which draws in a considerable more amount of people. But sometimes in Madison, it feels like an afterthought. It feels like something else that gets in the way of other things going on. But again, Green Bay has really embraced it, and excited to see the state tournament stay there and what's going to happen. They're already talking about what are some things they're going to do to expand the presentation. Are there things that can be done to make it a bigger experience? And that comes from the WI, and that comes from the visitor bureau in Green Bay. And also some rules changes this year, and these do affect boys and girls basketball, but a few, I think, relatively minor instances. There are some changes to goaltending and basket interference. Now, if the ball hits the backboard at all, it is considered on its downward flight. So there's no more judging if it was if it was coming down off of the backboard or not. If it hits the backboard and the defense touches it, it is automatically a goaltending call. And then some changes to, again, basket interference and how that situation works. I think a really good change a couple years ago involved the throw-in location in the front court, where there was a standardization for that. No longer, if there was a foul called somewhere, where does it go? Are you buried in the corner? Are you buried on the baseline? Calls that are not out of bounds calls in the front court now go to one of the 4 designated spots. And there was a little bit of, I think, gray area, right? In terms of, is it going on the sideline or is it going on the baseline? And there was an imaginary line that went from the elbow to the corner. And now they've standardized it and made it easier for officials, certainly, that if a throw-in results from a stoppage of play, now they use the 3-point line as the determining factor. So anything outside the 3-point line goes to the 28-foot mark out top. Anything inside the 3-point line goes to the baseline for a throw-in, again, in the front court. I'm sure there'll be some instances of that, taking a little bit for people to getting used to, even officials, but I think a good change overall. So not, earth-shattering changes at the NFHS rules level, but I think good ones nonetheless. So again, those rule changes, boys and girls basketball.
Yeah, I do think that like the throw-in thing, from a standpoint, I like it just because, having to take the ball out of bounds in certain spots, right? Like it's tough and it changes the way you have to do things, right? So I think from a coaching standpoint, it helps a little bit more with consistency and like what you want to do. And officials can't possibly mess that up, though, can they?
That and it always, make a good drive maybe you make a drive as a basketball player, you get fouled on the baseline in the corner, and then all of a sudden you were almost penalized before these rules came out, where you were having to inbound it right from that corner, despite a defensive foul or something like that. So, getting that.
Those deep corner inbounds, man, that's like that. Those are things that you had like in the past, like, right. You'd have to practice those because it's really tough. And if you have a good defensive team, especially, man, like they can really put the pressure on you there to even be able to get it in. So yeah, I think overall, like the rule changes are good and they're not crazy ones, but I think they make sense.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
A point of clarification: if the ball goes out of bounds, it always goes to the point where it went out of bounds. That does not change. And
correct.
I saw some officials, when the throw-in spot change happened a few years ago, that were trying to put out of bounds, inbounds plays at one of the 4 designated spots, and that's not the case. So that rule doesn't change. Hopefully that doesn't cause too many problems.
Yeah, I promise I will not get after too many JV basketball officials this year about the inbound spots. I swear I will do my darndest.
Other things is, again, with girls basketball getting underway this week, a few things to note. Natalie Cuso from Arrowhead went over 2,000 career points. She becomes the 45th girl in state history to go over 2,000 career points. How about the defending Division II state champion Wauwatosa East girls basketball team? The performance factor bumps them up to D1 for playoffs this year, but they wanted to challenge themselves and get ready for that. And Coach Mary Merg, who had a busy offseason, she had twins this offseason. They came out and got a couple really nice wins early on. Wisconsin Lutheran and Neenah already have wins over. And then a huge one this weekend at the Kettle Moraine holiday tournament, one of the better in-season events on the schedule every year. They take on Kimberly, one of the powerhouse programs in Division I. So an exciting start to the season for Wauwatosa East. And again, new mother, Mary Merg. Kettle Moraine Lutheran has wins over Aquinas and Wanakee already over at the Beaver Dam Classic. Again, one of the better invites early on here. And that's after a couple, of their top players graduated from last year, Mackenzie Luring and Madeline Leffel. And then how about, at different times and different avenues, different podcasts we've done in the past or whatever, there's been a lot of discussion about the women's basketball program at the University of Wisconsin and what, has ailed that program for many, many years since they let Lisa Stone go, and expected more out of that program than what she was giving, which was, occasional or frequent 20-win seasons. And it has been a struggle, to say the least, over the last 12, 15 years, whatever it's been. Have gone through a number of different coaches. But a new coach this year, Robin Pinchton, comes in, and they have 3 commits that they just signed recently. Nordine from Shawano, Giselle Janowski from Pewaukee, and Adeline Shepley from Rice Lake, who had a big season opening performance, 35 points in her opening game. So, that's something that we'll touch on later on as we get going in the season. But Wisconsin women's basketball is off to a good start to the season and a good start recruiting in state. It has been a struggle for a long time getting some of those top players to stay home. You just look at the number of players that have gone out of state and been incredible players that have played in the G League, or excuse me, in the WNBA, that have played at high level college programs. I mean, we've got 2 girls at UConn right now. I had, of course, Enrique that was there a couple years ago and led them to a national title. There is not a shortage of girls basketball talent in the state, but they have been going elsewhere for a long time. And Wisconsin even got a win over UW Green Bay this year already, which was the first time since I think it was 2016, maybe it was 18, that they had beaten UW Green Bay. And that was something to celebrate, which, Green Bay is a great program. What Coach Borseth did for the long time there, and Coach Carius there now. But, hopefully Wisconsin gets to a point where beating UW Green Bay is not a celebration, streak busting type thing. Hopefully they can get in and compete in the Big Ten. We'll see how things continue to go for them. But a good start to a new coach era there for UW. And again, a good start for Addie Shepley, who had a big performance in Rice Lake's opening victory. Again, the Beaver Dam Classic, mentioned that. That was a great event last weekend. I can't remember. Maybe you would know, Colton. Was there like 20-some games there for that event, or is that the Brookfield one, or excuse me, the Kettle Moraine one I'm thinking of maybe? But
Kettle Moraine.
Yeah, the Beaver Dam Classic, a good opening weekend event. And then again, some good ones coming up this weekend in the Thanksgiving holiday tournaments. And that's kind of been, an interesting progression over the last few years of girls basketball, and to some extent boys as well. But the girls teams and coaches have really embraced those early season tournaments where you get some great matchups. Teams are not shying down. Again, Tosa East playing Wisco and Neenah already. They play Kimberly this weekend. But I think in some ways it also speaks to the imbalance that we have in girls basketball a little bit, where those top teams have to go and challenge themselves because so many of them are not getting challenged week to week in conference. There might be 2 or 3 teams that really can be competitive in a lot of conferences, even good big school conferences. And then the rest are, they're not being competitive consistently. And I will get on a soapbox as if I already haven't, but I will promise you that my number one thing that I will push on this podcast, on social media, on everything when it comes to when it comes to basketball and problems, concerns, and issues in the state of Wisconsin is girls basketball participation. We will make it a focus on what we're doing, and at Bound, I will continue to make it a focus on the podcast as much as you guys will let me, because to me that far outweighs any of the other things that we're talking about. And again, just anecdotally and data wise, I mean, talking to coaches and seeing rosters come in and the number of programs that are out there that are dropping, it is in a rough spot in a lot of places in girls basketball. And we've got to find some solutions going forward.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it's not just at schools that struggle with success either. It's everywhere. Even the best of the best, right? Like you're hard pressed to find girls in the state that have 3 full levels. And that's a shame because like I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't want that to be the norm. We need to figure out a way to get girls more involved and even continue to get boys more involved too, like across the way. I could go off on a tangent when it comes to talking about multi-sport athletes and the specialization of things. I think that hurts a lot of athletes, especially on the girls' side too, with the specialization stuff. I think that if you're a multi-sport athlete, you're going to be better at all those sports because of being a multi-sport athlete. And I think that if kids are getting the message that they need to stop playing other sports to play this sport to get really good at that, I think they're being told the wrong message and they're listening to the wrong people. But we got to come to some kind of solution to figure out the dwindling numbers on the girls' side for sure.
I had a chance to have a long conversation with Kimberly coach Dave Lepisto a week or two ago, and we talked about that significantly. And even there at Kimberly, I mean, that's as good of a program as you have in the state. They only have 2 levels of girls basketball at a school of 1,500 students with a strong success history and everything else. And I had a conversation with him, and I want to get to a point where I'd like to do a survey. I'd like to dig into the data more, connect with coaches, and really dig into the information of how many levels do you have? How many students do you have participating? How does it compare to 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What are reasons you're hearing? Want to get some solid data. I know there's been some attempts to do that in the past, but would love to get that updated. And either on this forum, on the podcast, or maybe some other avenues that we have at Bound Wisconsin, incorporate some conversations with some of the girls coaches on what they're seeing, why they're seeing it, and those kinds of things. Again, we could spend all the time we wanted today and every week. I don't want to belabor that point, but just know that we will make it a focus of what we're doing at Bound Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think as you can tell from the 3 here, myself included, we care about high school sports, youth sports, especially the participation rates, and that's something that we're probably going to weave into conversations throughout, honestly, quite a few of our episodes going forward. Next, we've got a segment, but before we get into that, I just want to give a shout out to Bound, our presenting sponsor. Travis and myself both work for Bound Wisconsin, and we think that it's a great spot for football. Went great there, basketball is going to go great there. One-stop shop. We're going to have content all year. We're going to have scores, stats, schedules. I will go out, Trav will go out. We will find all the information we can and get it in one spot. With the app, everything's at your fingertips. Coach, you want to find a score at night? Get that Bound Wisconsin app. Search WIA. Follow the whole boys basketball state. Look at your scores right then and there. You can upload your scores as coaches. You can upload your stats right from your fingertips. So just wanted to give a shout out to our presenter, Bound. We appreciate everything we do. After Trav talked,
appreciate everything we do. I'm glad that we're patting ourselves on the back as hard as we can here today.
I need a nap. Trav talked about Coach Lepisto up in Kimberly. He is going to want to stick around for this one. This is a segment that we're going to try. This might be a weekly segment. It might be a monthly segment. I don't know what we're going to do. But Coach Smith, he's got a lot to talk about. And there's stuff that, it grinds his gears, but we're gonna call it is what really takes the air out of the ball for me. So, Coach, What really takes the air out of the ball for you this week?
Well, not just this week, but for a lot of years now, huddle is a big sh- me sometimes. And the last couple years, it's been pretty brutal, actually. For supposedly being the big fish in the small pond type thing, Huddle just continues to let everybody down with the product they put out there. I'll just say that. It started with the some simple things like storage. Storage. When Huddle first was like, oh, we're gonna have unlimited storage. You can put as many games on there, and you can keep them on there forever, and it's always gonna be great, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you can't actually. You can't actually have the unlimited storage anymore unless you can buy certain packages to get more storage, right? And if you don't have these in here, if you don't have your games taken off of Huddle by this date, then we're just going to delete them and you're not going to have them anymore. And that continued to be a thing, right? Purchase more. They start more add-ons that you have to pay for, right? Things that were included initially and now all of a sudden they're gone. And so they're just continuing to nickel and dime you. And then they even put you into multi-year contracts for certain things. And the amount of money that our school pays for Huddle to be an inferior product is absolutely insane. I can't understand how you can be making so much money off of people and you don't improve your product. Some things like getting stats back. It was always guaranteed within 24 hours at first, right, for a long time, and they would like get it back to you, kick back to you in like 12 hours, and it's like, oh, this is great because like you put the game in through to Huddle Assist, right, and it's like I need to have those stats back before I practice the next day because obviously I want to be able to plan for stuff like that, right? And then all of a sudden, well, now we have a 12-hour package and a 24-hour package, and you mentioned Dave Lepisto, and he's great. He's a great follow on X if you're not already a follower, because he really speaks his mind. I'll say, and he was actually just talking about he has the 24-hour package, and here he is sitting at hour 40, waiting for a film to come back yet, and then it didn't even have a report that went along with it when it came back tagged, and I can't tell you the amount of hours I've spent trying to, once it comes back and I go and look at the tags and the stats, and it's like, this isn't even close to being right. Like, there are people that are statting the games and tagging the games that don't understand basketball. Like, what are we doing? Why are we paying this money? It makes no sense. I'm paying thousands of dollars for them to do these things, and then all of a sudden I have to do the same thing because they did it wrong. I've had Huddle literally at games and use my roster with the opposing team and the opposing team's roster with my team, and then it's just all messed up. It's just bad. There are a lot of things, like from now all of a sudden we have new Huddle, and the clips is absolutely insane. They don't work properly. When you create a clip, it starts from the exact moment that you wanted to start the clip instead of going back a couple seconds so that you could get into the clip type thing. It used to do that. Now you have to go and trim it, and you have to adjust it and everything. When I'm watching film sometimes, oh yeah, like I'm doing this and I have to stop, right? Like, oh yeah, I have to go back and do this. And so you used to be able to go out of a game and then you could come back into the game and it would start right back up where you left off. And now here we sit, you click back into the game and it starts over automatically. So there's a lot of things. You ever want to talk to somebody from Huddle and get some customer service, you'll be waiting days. I'll just try to create your own tutorials and figure it out yourself, I guess. But there are a lot of things. I mean, I could keep going here with, let's see, what else do I have here? They literally didn't tell us that changes were coming to Huddle. Nobody ever gave any notifications, right? Like, you could go in previous years, you could still use like Classic Huddle and like click on the thing and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to use Classic Huddle and still have all the new like attraction and stuff. But the way it looks now, everything's completely changed. There's no video like tutorials on how to do anything, right? Like Travis, you came out with the video to show how to use Bound, right? Super easy stuff that help people. But Huddle doesn't care, right? They just, and where they get you now is that the fact that they have schools sign multi-year contracts. I'll be honest, I've started to work my way away from Huddle. I purchased statting website package. It's called Full Court Analytics. And I know me and a bunch of people that I've worked with in the past that I've coached with, they're starting to use it as well. And it's miles better already. And it actually clips everything for you prior. So I don't actually have to go and create clips. Every possession is clipped and you can go into it and you can look at it and be like, all right, I need this, this, and this. And you can filter it and search for it. And then if there's something that they don't do, which it's very, very unlikely, like I can actually create custom tags and do it myself too. So I just think that Huddle is getting to a point where people are getting frustrated to the point where they're looking elsewhere. And I think that Huddle is being very arrogant about that and think that it's never going to go away. But if they don't if they don't start changing things for the better, it's going to go away. And there are other fish that are growing in that said pond, right? That are going to start taking a lot of money from Huddle in the near future if they haven't already.
Coach, you talked about full court. I'm going to call you Coach, Chris. It's just a respect thing. I always call coaches Coach. And you're my buddy. I'll call you Chris. I'll also call you Coach. We'll see. You talked about full court analytics. Is that an app where you have to take because this is something that's new to me, so maybe now I need to look at it, do you take your film and upload it into that? What is the process there?
Yeah, so and they're great too with being able to they're like you can take I know most schools that they still have to have Huddle because a lot of conferences and leagues, right, have film share. And right now Huddle is the film share pool place, right, where everybody is. Like that's what the North Shore does. We have a pool share.
Yep.
In there, right? And so they actually allow you to just you can download your video from Huddle and you can actually just put the link into their website and hit send and it automatically goes. And the nice thing about Full Court Analytics is I was told that I will have up to 3 people that will be unique to Hartford basketball, where it's gonna be the same people statting my games every single time. So they'll get used to our players. They'll understand our system a little bit better. They're basketball people, which again, I don't think Huddle does that. I don't think Huddle has basketball people necessarily doing their statting, and it's very, very glaring at times. So I'm really excited for it and see what it gives us, and go from there. I see Travis, you got your hand up there. You got a question or a comment?
I'm just testing out the feature, but I also wanted to just mention, or I guess ask, if you guys have seen anything in the area of AI analytics, AI stat tracking, AI Huddle Assist, basically, right? Because I think that's the next wave, and I think already there's people doing it. I have to think, and I think within the next few years, that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be somebody in a cubicle or in a cube farm in India or the US even. It's all going to be AI tracked and uploaded. So I wonder if maybe that's some of Huddle's issue, that they're not investing in the human piece of that because they're investing in the AI piece. And I'm wondering if you've looked at anything with that, Chris, of AI capability for whether it's general analytics or the stat tracking piece.
So I guess I haven't specifically, no, but I mean, if Huddle is working on something AI related, they might want to push that a little bit faster because it's not going great for them right now. But I think you're right, though. I think that's where the future is headed with everything, especially when it comes to analytics in sports, right? I mean, AI just does some amazing things, but I still think that there is that human piece to it that needs to be assisting some of that stuff at times.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's been a kind of a broader point early on in this basketball season in our state right now, is just coaches are being asked to do a lot of those tedious tasks right now with regards to, I mean, obviously we at Bound, we're kind of in the middle of that, right? Where there's a information of data war, so to speak, going on, right? And it's something that I, as someone who wants to get all the information that I can possible from a media standpoint and from a publishing standpoint, am going to pull my hair out. And then I, as a coach, when I go to find film or go to find, not film, but when I go to find statistical information, roster information for opponents, where am I looking? So right now, I think that that's just kind of an overarching. Huddle is a big piece of that. There's an overarching theme right now this year in Wisconsin high school basketball of coaches putting a lot more time and effort into things that were a little more automated last year. Yeah, so we'll come back to this. We'll revisit this halfway through the year. We'll revisit this with other coaches. Trav, where'd you go? We lost you. There you
I was flipping my video the right way. I don't know if I was backwards before. I hate that. I just realized it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's things that I'm sure all coaches will want to dive into when we get them on here. ADs will likely want to talk some stuff about that too if we ever get administration on here. Just, coaches, we don't get paid a lot of money. So, for the amount of time that is put in, not just during the season, in the off season, everything like that, like the menial tasks of just huddle, figure it out. That's stuff that's agitating.
That's a topic in itself, right? Is that you hit it on the nose? Is that us as high school coaches, we don't get paid a ton of money, right? And like I said, it could be a topic of its own. But he is always talking about how there's a shortage in officials, right? Well, if you've never been a head coach before, you don't understand how hard it is to fill a coaching staff from top to bottom. And it's a yearly battle every single year because, for one, if you want to attract people, you probably have to pay them something, right? If you don't have the money to pay them, I'm lucky enough this year to have what do I have? I have three really great volunteer assistants, but people don't normally want to volunteer their time, right? So I do think that in the world of everything is getting expensive, and to make a living you have to make more money. There might be some serious topics and conversations had, not just maybe on here, but in other small worlds too, with coaches and keeping coaches around, because I feel like a lot of good ones are leaving too.
Like, obviously we do this for the love of the game. We're not doing it, it's our part-time gig, not a part-time gig. It's our second full-time gig, right? We do it for the love of the game. We love being able to teach kids. We love being able to grow our sport. We love being able to, create good young men and women. And so I think that's the pay is something that is a little taboo almost, especially in public forum, right?
I don't know if you guys have seen, there is a push in the state of Florida, which is an entirely different animal, I understand, but there is a Florida Coaches Coalition that is pushing for minimum stipends for high school coaches. And it's really interesting because it's way more than what anybody in Wisconsin makes. I mean, in Alabama, there's like 20 football coaches that make more than $100,000 a year. In Texas, there's probably way more than that, but there's a push in Florida to make it a minimum. A high school football coach minimum in a head coach in Florida under this proposal would be like $22,500 a year. They would have to work a minimum of 1,500 hours. And then assistant football coaches and head coaches in all other sports would be a minimum $11,000 stipend, which obviously is significantly more than what anybody is making right now. So I don't know how much of a chance it has to pass. I don't know that it's feasible, let's be honest, for school districts, especially when many school districts are talking about going to referendum for operational costs and all those other things. But as we've advocated many times, high school sports and high school extracurriculars in general, they're not really extracurricular. They're core curricular to the educational experience. And the average budget for all extracurriculars at a school, not just sports, but drama and band and forensics and all the clubs, is like 3% of the annual budget in any given year. And the return on that investment is so incredible that it does need to be evaluated. Again, I don't think we're ever going to get to a minimum $50 an hour minimum wage type situation, but it will be interesting to see how that conversation goes in Florida.
Yeah, that's just kind of a broader point, a big point in this podcast. We appreciate you coaches. We love you coaches. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything that you do. A lot of times it's ridiculed. A lot of times you make it this is a total different tangent. You don't just get mom and dads. If you get too successful, you get the folks on Twitter that come at you like you're LaFleur or Fickle. But we appreciate you here. We love you here. Keep pushing the right things at the right times to the right kids, or all the kids. Sorry, not the right kids. I think we're going to do one more segment. We're going to hop into our look ahead right after that, and then we're going to try and get out of here. This was episode 0, and talking hoops is fun. What can we say? Get a little long-winded. Next segment, this will probably be something that we do every week. It'll be we'll do one girl, one boy, and it's a stat sheet stuffer. Say it 4 times, Chris. Go.
We'll have to have the bleep button ready, though, just in case. So don't say it that fast.
The triple S, so to speak. This week, obviously, with no boys, we got one. We got, if I butcher this name, I horribly apologize. Elena Grainquist from Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, senior up there. She is a Western Illinois commit. In the opening game of the year, she went for 30 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. She was 12 of 17 from the field and 3 of 7 from 3. She is our stat sheet stuffer. What is your guys' best stuffing of a stat sheet you had in high school?
Well, I averaged like 4 or 5 points a game my senior year, so I don't know that I stuffed a lot of stat sheets, to be quite honest with you. Probably my most memorable stat sheet was one that was 0. That was when we played at the Bradley Center for the old the Bucks prep series, playing at the Bradley Center. This is how long ago it was. In 1998, we played against Hillsborough, and I don't remember how many shots I took, probably 5 or 6, most of them 3-pointers. That was my strength. Didn't make a single one. The shooting background at a gym like that, when it's empty especially, is so different. Feels so different. I just could not get anything going. So that's probably my most memorable stat line that I had in high school basketball.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my career high as a varsity basketball player was 12, and I hit 4 threes in that game, and that was the biggest highlight, I would say, of my varsity career.
My stat sheet stuffer stat is 12 illegal screens in men's league every Sunday night. Come see it in Richland Center. That is my stat sheet stuffer.
I can't believe, Colton, that you did not go with winless as a senior basketball.
Oh, yeah. And 21, 2008, 2009 Richland Center Hornets. It was, talk about a year. You want to hear perspective, and maybe this is something that we can bring Coach Pauls on. He's the varsity head coach that I'm with right now. His first year coaching basketball was my senior year. So going 0-21 together, we had some stories. It's been neat though over the last couple of years getting to see his perspective on that. All right.
I'll echo something like that. I mean, we had a segment on WSN called Coach's Corner, and Tim Chase, who was one of the best coaches in the state at Beaver Dam, girls basketball coaches, he went through a 29-game losing streak. When he started at Beaver Dam, at one point they were 21, I believe, his first year there, and lost 29 straight, and eventually got to be the best program in the state of Wisconsin. So, I mean, that is the kind of thing that can happen. It's hard, but Tim Chase would be a great one to connect with at some point to talk more about that.
Yeah. We're going to zip through some of this, what to look forward to this next week. Obviously, Thanksgiving's coming. We got Monday of games for girls. Tuesday, first night for boys. First night of boys basketball. Wednesday, I think that there's a subdued schedule, so to speak, between boys and girls. There's just a couple on the docket for each. And then Friday and Saturday, Black Friday and Saturday, Thanksgiving tournaments. The number of them has increased quite a bit probably over the last 3 to 4 years. I've got a list here. I'm gonna rip through them. You can find the full schedule for all of these tournaments at boundwisconsin.com. We have all the matchups, game times, everything. There's there's around 12 to 15 tournaments this weekend between boys and girls. I'm going to rip through them here quick and then hop into just a couple boys games, Chris, that I think that we're going to look at that opening night. For girls tournaments, we got Brookfield Central. That's 24 games, Friday, Saturday. Boys and girls, Cranberry Classic up in Assumption, Friday and Saturday. Kettle Moraine, again, another really big tournament. There's going to be 27 girls games Friday and Saturday down. I think they're playing on 3 or 4 different courts. They just had uplifting on that, or a facelift on their gym, correct? A couple years ago, this past year.
Well, they had new courts installed, and then they had some kind of a water pipe issue or something, and they had to rip up and replace. I think it was that middle gym, if I remember correctly. like the year after, or the year they had already replaced it. They had to do a significant amount of work on that, from a burst pipe or a leak of some kind.
My golly. Denmark, you're going to have two girls' games Friday and Saturday. The Tom Kislow Memorial Tournament at Medford games Friday and Saturday. On the boys' side, you got Wausau East games Friday and Saturday, Wausau West. You got the Catholic Memorial Autism Classic, 9 games on Saturday. The Steve Randall Memorial Classic at Oshkosh Arena, hosted by Oshkosh West, Friday and Saturday. Racine Case they do theirs a little differently. They do 8 games, a couple girls' games on this Saturday, and then they'll do 5 more the following on December 6th. The next Saturday, Sheboygan South Turkey Classic Friday and Saturday, Berlin Blitz Thanksgiving Classic at Peshtigo Friday, Saturday, and then East Troy Friday and Saturday. And then you cannot forget the Slam at the Dam in Beaver Dam. 6 games on Saturday, something that I might be going to. I've got to figure out if I'm going to get yelled at by the wife. We will see.
I'll be there too.
Sweet. Maybe we'll just do a live stream, Coach, me and you.
Yeah.
All right.
You definitely wouldn't want to have me mic'd up during. That wouldn't be ideal, probably.
Now, just looking, we got opening night coming up. Tuesday night, boys basketball. Coach, Chris, man, this is going to get difficult not calling you Coach. You're my friend. You're my buddy. You're Chris. You're my co-host. Chris, what games are we looking at? What sticks out to you?
Yeah, some top games that stick out. We have, Whitnell CMH. That's going to be a good one to start off the season. Like, those two teams are bound to be very successful throughout the entire year. And then a little battle, FVL versus Freedom. I'm excited to see what Freedom can do this year. I mean, they have a powerhouse in Donovan Davis, and I'm good friends with Coach Gibbons, and he's really, really excited to get going. And to play a quality opponent like FBL right away, who's traditionally very good, is going to be a pretty fun opening night.
Former Northeastern rivals, now FBL's in the Old Bay. So it's actually a non-con game this year.
I don't think it's technically the Old Bay. It's not a seasoning, but
Bay Conference.
And and one game that I'm looking forward to is Monroe versus Monona Grove, simply just because we play Monona Grove at the Slam at the Dam next Saturday, and that's going to be a good opening night game. Unfortunately, it's a little bit got a little muddy there, I guess. For yesterday, we were both, us and Monona Grove, scrimmaging at Kettle Rain, and Monona Grove ended up. They have a great player in Austin Luchetti, and it sounds like there was an incident with, I don't know, him playing defense and him being airborne or something, and got hit with a screen at the same time and came down awkward. And it sounds like he fractured his leg and is going to be done for the season, I would assume, which is too bad because he's probably one of the best big men like across the state of Wisconsin. And we were really excited to play against a high quality opponent like Monona Grove, who's still going to be very good even without him. But to lose a player of that caliber, in our state for an entire season is pretty crummy. And my thoughts go out a little bit to Coach Z over there at MG, and hopefully Austin has a good and speedy recovery process.
Yeah, you never want to see injuries to anyone ever, right? You
No.
definitely never want to see them in a scrimmage, and then to see it against one of the top kids in just a loaded 2027 class. He's got D2 offers from Lake Superior State, Northern Michigan. Like, it's awful to see. We wish him the best and fullest recovery. Yeah, that's some, excuse my French, shitty news.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's too bad. They have a very promising, obviously, coming freshman that's going to be very good for them, and then Austin's little brother as well. And MG is always very competitive every year, so I mean they're still going to be very talented. But it's a shame to lose a kid with an injury, kind of a freak injury like that.
Yeah. Let's transition into our weeks. Coach, what do you got planned for this upcoming week? What's on your docket? What's on your schedule? What are the Hartford Orioles doing?
No, we just have practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have school Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday we have a nice early practice at 7 a.m. because I like to just get us in and try to be understanding of the kids being kids. And so I was like, hey guys, like, you cool with practicing at 7 a.m. so you guys can be done by 9 a.m. and you don't have to see or hear me until Friday. And they're all like, yeah, that's great, because then they basically have the entire day to just do whatever they want. They probably go home at 9 o'clock and in the morning and take a 3-hour nap and then get up and do whatever they're doing. No, and then we come back Friday and we get ready for Monona Grove. And like I said, I'll be in the house watching Monroe and Monona Grove on Tuesday nights and just see what's going on with there. It's always it's an added bonus when a team you play your first game plays a game before that, which is pretty awesome. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get in the gym, and there's nothing better than sitting and watching a high school basketball game. So like I don't get to with film share and everything out there now, like the old school scouting doesn't happen as much anymore, right? Because you pretty much get film of every opponent that you have right here on your computer. So it's like getting out and actually seeing some teams sometimes and having the time to do that is really fun. So I'm looking forward to going to watch a high school game.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on something that I think should be said more often, letting kids be kids. Remember, we're working with in our quote unquote profession and what we're doing right now, we're working with 14 to 18-year-olds. Let them be 14 to 18-year-olds. Give them time to breathe. Give them time to be kids. Let them go hang out with their buddies, play Fortnite, emote, TikTok, do all the stuff that kids do these days. But let them go hang out together. Let them have that, because basketball's a long season. They need that reprieve. Trav, what about you?
Well, I got some work finishing up the football season that we'll have content for Bound Wisconsin. Put some out already. You can find the all finals team, the MVP, best game. Just kind of breaking it all down, putting a bow on the football season, and then getting into basketball. Start work on some additional basketball content. We've got out did a great job getting out some preseason content with top 10 rankings in boys and girls basketball. We had some of the top returning players, top returning stats leaders from last year. This week will be the first Bound Wisconsin Zaleski Sports girls basketball media poll. Will come out on Monday afternoon, and then the boys and girls will follow the following week. So we will have a media poll that'll come out on Bound Wisconsin in cooperation with our friends at Zaleski Sports every Monday that will be released on Bound Wisconsin. So that's one of the features that you can look forward to, and some other great stuff planned. Again, my youngest son's a freshman at Reedsburg. He's playing basketball. He suited up for football, so he didn't get all the practices in last week, so he's getting going with that. First game isn't until after Thanksgiving. They don't play until Friday, December 5th, actually, is their first game. So pretty late for the Reedsburg Beavers. And that's not because of any games being pushed from football. That's just how their schedule worked out this year. So getting into that, and I think I'm reffing a couple grade school, parochial school games as well. No JV or freshman games reffing for me this year as of right now. We'll see if I fill in. But yeah, wrapping up football, getting to basketball, and we'll see. Maybe I'll get over and ref some of Colton's games again and try not to kick him out.
Hey, ever since COVID, where I had to put a mask on, it's really muted me quite a bit. 4 or 5 texts the first couple years. Haven't had any since 2020.
By the way, I'm extremely disappointed, Colton, that in your intro you did not identify yourself as the winningest coach in state history.
I don't like to gloat.
No, highest winning percentage in state history as a varsity basketball coach.
1-0. With that, I'll let you guys know, hey, Hornets, Richland, Center, we get to play Mauston. They got one of the top sophomores in the state, Jason Avis. Kid is an athletic freak. He does a lot. We get to play them Tuesday night. That is our opener. We'll have practice Monday, Wednesday. Hopefully I can get to something on Saturday. That all depends on if I'm going to get yelled at or not. Spending time with family and with the wife, you guys both know it, during this basketball season is something that we definitely don't do enough, right? Wives, families, spouses, they all get the brunt of the scout, the stats, the everything that we do. So shout out to them. Big shout out to them. I think before we leave, last thing I got to ask you guys, best, favorite, however you want to go with it, dish at Thanksgiving, go.
For me, it is stuffing, and it's not homemade stuffing. It is stovetop chicken flavored stuffing is by far the best. I love a good chocolate pie, or the ice cream chocolate pie that we have at our house that our mom makes, Colton, is pretty good as well. I'm fine with all the other turkey fixins, but to me, stuffing is the highlight.
Yeah, I mean, I love so we deep fry turkey around here,
Oh,
and that's my specialty. I get to do that every year. We host Thanksgiving, but if I'm thinking of like a side dish, like it just like so for like Travis said, no, not homemade stuff or anything like that. Like I love the cranberry sauce like straight out of the jar. Like it looks like the can, like the ripples in the can, and you dump it out on the plate. Like I yell at my wife if she doesn't have that for us. So that's like a staple for me. But I love the deep fried turkey too, though.
I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say it's gravy because that shit goes on everything. uh, yeah, that's our first episode. I want to again thank Bound for presenting, for being the presenting sponsor of Baseline Banter. You're gonna find us hopefully every Monday. Time TBD. We'll see that. This is episode 1, episode 0. We're gonna be found on your YouTubes, your Spotify's, and your Apples. Those podcast feeds will be up a little later this week, so stay tuned. We'll get that posted out on our social. Follow us on Twitter/X, however you want to call it, at Baseline Banter 3. You can follow Travis at Travis Bound on Twitter, and you can follow Chris at C Smith. That is not with a TH, that is with 2 F's. 8 on Twitter, and I'm Colton Wilson 23. Trav, what's our send off?
Get on the baseline. I don't know.
Close enough. We'll get it worked out in week 2. Thanks everyone for tuning in.